welcome to today's webinar from Labster. Today's presentation will be a how to get started presentation about using Labster virtual lab simulations, especially in high school science classes. So we're especially trying to reach out to all the folks using us in K-12 and in high schools around the country and around the world. So the agenda for today's presentation will be an overall introduction to a refresher maybe on what Labster is, what are these virtual science lab simulations, in case any of you are new to using Labster. We'll also talk a little bit about how to get access to Labster simulations, some common solutions to issues you may encounter, then talk a little bit about teaching with Labster, some best practices, different ways of potentially using Labster, ways to get support if it's needed, and then we'll have some time at the end for Q&A. My name is Mark Fuller. I'm a product director here at Labster, and I'm joined by my colleagues Kim and Maya from the customer success team. So again, I mentioned we'll do a Q&A toward the end of the presentation, but feel free at any point to enter your questions into an app called Slido. So you go to slido.com and then it's entering #Labster. So again, slido.com, you can pull it up on your phone or on your computer or something like that and enter Labster in as the code to learn a little bit more. So let's start with an introduction and refresher. Again, today's presentation really is best geared for those who are just getting started with Labster, maybe you want some pointers, some tips about access, about how to get the ball rolling. So Labster really is an immersive virtual lab simulation experience. Think of a flight simulator, but for learning science or for working in a lab space, right? We say it's a $1 million lab for every student anywhere, and this is sort of the experience that we try to cultivate for students. What we do is we drop them in the middle of a completely immersive 3D laboratory. What students will need to do is move through this experience, completing a series of tasks, laboratory experiments, and they'll even follow protocols, right? So a student may step into the virtual lab and put on their lab coat, their PPE, their gloves, and their goggles and everything else like that, and then step through a series of tasks. They'll learn how to use the equipment, they'll perform different experiments, different exercises, maybe that are even more abstract. They'll have this lab manual that appears throughout the experience, and they'll answer quiz questions. So we have quiz questions woven in throughout the experience. And we also have theory material, conceptual information, almost like a digital textbook woven into the background of the simulation experience too. So they're learning as they go. At any point, they can stop and look back at that theory material in order to answer a quiz question or understand what they're doing with their hands and with their pipette and everything else in the lab experience. We also have them at certain points watching animations, like you see here, shrinking the students down to the molecular level so they can see atoms and cells and different things interact that they would never be able to see in a real lab experience. And of course, in our lab, you can blow things up, you can spill things, get them dirty, and speed up time and accomplish some things that you would never be able to do in an actual wet lab. So what we like to do is really extend the wet lab experience. And in some cases, of course, we can replace, especially in times like these when folks are not really able to get into the classroom or actual lab spaces in certain cases. But all of Labster simulations have real life stories. They're gamified, right? We want to make it engaging for students. And ultimately what we see are outcomes for actual learning outcomes, increasing student engagement and motivation increasing, and then closing of knowledge gaps between students. So those that are coming in with a little bit less information, a little bit less background in the science area that you may be studying, those students tend to increase their results at a much faster rate than the top performing students. So what we have these gamified experiences, usually about 20, 30, 40 minutes each for the students to complete. They can play them as homework, they can play them simultaneously. The Labster simulations are built by scientists. So we have a staff of, we call them scientific content creators, and they collaborate with 3D artists and game designers to create these experiences and really base everything that is going into these virtual labs on good learning design and the literature in this area. If you go to our website, if you're interested, we have over a dozen peer-reviewed research studies about the use of Labster and outcomes for students and how student engagement is affected. But there's a lot there, absolutely. If you go to labster.com at any point, you can find out a lot more. So what is our catalog? What do we actually cover here at Labster? Right now, as of this speaking in February 2021, we have over 160 virtual lab experiences, and that's growing quickly, right? And we went from 80 to 120 to 160. We're moving very rapidly. In the second half of 2021, we'll be launching a series of new high school level simulations. These are some of the topic areas that are covered here. For the high school level in particular, we have a series of packages, one in biology, one in chemistry, one in physics, that cover some of the basic topics in these areas. And then you can always look to more of the college level simulations too, if you think they would be helpful for your students. And we see that happening quite a bit, especially in AP classes. Maybe some of the advanced placement students will use those higher level simulations a lot. Curriculum alignment, we have actually a guide, a PDF guide that we'll be able to email you tomorrow once in our follow-up to this webinar presentation, with an alignment for all of our high school level simulations and up against next generation science standards, advanced placement, and international baccalaureate curriculum standards. So you can get a sense of what's actually being covered and maybe how does it fit for your class in particular. As I said, we'll have this guide and a series of other resources that we'll follow up with after this webinar, including the webinar recording itself. So you'll be able to look at this video and view it at any time in the future. Maya, do you want to take over?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Maya. I'm an implementation manager here at Labster. I'm just going to do a quick review on how to access Labster through using Labster Direct and Google Classroom. The first resource I want to actually talk about is our faculty resource page. This is actually a link given by your implementation manager, so either myself or Drew, and we will share this link with you. This page actually includes a simulation screencast, so an entire view of what the students will be seeing throughout the simulation, as well as a lab manual you'll be able to provide to your students. You'll have access to the quiz questions and the quiz answers within each simulation, the theory page as well, and then a chance to play the simulation yourself through this page. So it's a really great resource and tool as you start using Labster. And the first access method I want to go over is Labster Direct. This is actually a direct access by sharing simulations using unique links. So it's a really quick and easy setup. The first set is essentially just getting an email titled Your Access to Labster Direct. All you have to do is create an account here. So it's using your email address, setting a password, and then you'll have access to your course management page. Within this page, you'll have three main buttons that you'll be focusing on. The first and most important is the student course page. And this is the page where you'll be finding those unique links and sharing them directly with your students. So it's a really easy and quick setup. All you're doing is sharing links with students and they'll have direct access to our simulations. And the second button is actually the teacher dashboard. So this is how you'll be able to view the grades for each simulation. So it's really quick and easy. You just press on it and see all the grades and all the attempts that the students have tried. And the third link is the faculty resource page. That's your direct link to our faculty resource page. The next access method I want to go over is Google Classroom. Another simple and easy way to access Labster Direct by adding these simulations directly into your Google Classrooms. So the step-by-step is going to our consumer page, finding the simulation you want to add, pressing the share button, the green Google Classroom icon that we have here, entering your Labster license code. This is distributed by me and Drew, one of your implementation managers, and then choosing the course that you want to add the simulation to. After this, you press share and it posts automatically to your Google Classroom. It's shown here in this little video I have. If you refresh the page, you'll see not only the Labster simulation, but also the Labster dashboard. And this is your direct link to our side of the dashboard with all the attempt information and everything you need to view your student grades. And if there's any initial access questions in regards to Labster Direct, Google Classroom, or any other LMS, feel free to contact your implementation manager, that would be me or Drew Linder. And I have our contact information, our emails up on the screen here. And another helpful resource that we have here at Labster is our help page. We have a lot of really awesome and great articles that can walk you through the step-by-step as well. So feel free to navigate to help.labster.com and you can view the LMS integration resources, Labster Direct resources, as well as a direct link to our support team. And then a little bit more on the Labster dashboard. This is your eyes into all the grades that the students are actually completing. So if you press into the Labster dashboard, you'll see every single attempt. And if you press on the attempt itself, you can also see the correct answers that the students have chosen with their choices. So you can see what the students are choosing and if they're getting it correct or incorrect. So it's a really great resource as well. And then just a couple common solutions and information on our Labster support team. We do have some do's and don'ts here. The first one is to make sure your computer meets our minimum requirements, and we have that listed on our help page as well. Using a laptop or desktop computer and not a tablet or a phone. Using Firefox, we do recommend that first, and then Chrome. Closing any other websites or softwares, and then waiting until the simulation does load to the 100% progress point. We do have a support team that is there to help you with this little blue button here, so feel free to contact support with any of these common questions and we'll be able to help you.
All right, Kim, do you want to take over?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kim Gavrilis. I am a customer success manager here at Labster, and I want to give you a little bit more information about teaching with Labster. Next slide. So let's talk about the different use cases for Labster. The last 11 months or so have been a very challenging time for everyone, and especially for teachers and students. The most obvious use case for Labster in light of the pandemic is as a replacement for the wet lab. Because of the inability to get into the lab and have students perform those hands-on experiments, Labster provides an immersive, engaging 3D experience that will reinforce the theories and concepts you're exploring in class. You can assign simulations prior to lectures, class discussions, or assignments in order to facilitate a deeper understanding of the subject matter. You can also assign as a post-lab or after a lecture to reinforce your teaching instruction. And be sure to take advantage of our new editable lab manuals and animations to help solidify concepts, theories, and techniques. And finally, utilize the quiz scores in your gradebook for feedback and assessments. When you dig into the scores and look at what questions students may have struggled with, you'll have a better understanding of what concepts or topics need a bit more clarity or instruction. Next slide. Okay. So here are some strategies to use Labster as a mandatory course component. Encourage compliance by using Labster simulations as a low-risk assessment tool. You can make it a minimum percentage of the overall grade to ensure that students complete the assignment. Include content from the simulations in your quizzes, exams, or written assignments. Create worksheets for students based on Labster to complete after the simulations. And finally, make Labster a mandatory activity and not an optional add-on. Incorporating Labster into your teaching instruction allows students of all levels to close the knowledge gaps and will result in improved student outcomes. So looking forward, I know it's hard to see it now, but there is light at the end of this tunnel. Once we're past this crisis and ready to get back into the physical lab, Labster will remain a valuable tool for student outcomes and engagement. You'll optimize time spent in the lab. When students complete simulations prior to entering the wet lab, they'll be better prepared and more informed about techniques, processes, protocols, and theories, all of which will save time and enhance learning. Your students will have access to equipment and materials that are too costly or impractical for schools to purchase. The simulations will allow for a consolidation of knowledge between the lab and the classroom and help them to absorb otherwise difficult content. Our platform makes experimentation safe and low stakes. Students can blow things up, spill hazardous chemicals, and make all sorts of mistakes without consequence. And finally, understanding that Labster is not a video game and is based on real pedagogical techniques with proven learning outcomes. The simulations provide a gamified experience that students are familiar with and find fun and engaging. Next slide. So we make sure that you feel supported. As part of the onboarding process, you met with our implementation specialists, whether that was Maya or Drew, to ensure that you are clear on how to access, share, and use Labster simulations. If you ever feel like you need refresher training, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to help. You also have a dedicated customer success manager who will partner with you to ensure simulations are working for your class. For many of you, that will be me, but the team is growing fast and we will soon have more dedicated staff to make sure that you and your students love Labster. We also have a fantastic support team ready to help with any questions or technical issues you or your students may have. Our support team is available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern Time. Now I would like to talk a little bit about our new partnership with Better Lesson. Our new partnership with Better Lesson provides a deeper dive into how to integrate Labster into your in-person, hybrid, or virtual classroom environments. They offer 2-hour sessions for up to 20 teachers, facilitated by experienced Better Lesson science coaches. The sessions are centered around a specific area of need and can be done as a standalone session or as a customized series. In the sessions, you'll participate in virtual breakout rooms and use tools such as participant polls to model active pedagogy. When you've completed the session, you'll have practical, proven strategies to use with your students to ensure they get the most out of the platform. Right now, they are focusing on 3 session topics: teaching with Labster in the virtual classroom, using flexible assessment to make learning visible with Labster, and finally, engaging students of all levels with Labster. Now, these sessions are offered at an additional cost. If you're interested in learning more and finding out how the sessions can deepen your teaching instruction with Labster, let us know. Finally, let us help. We have a robust help center where you can find frequently asked questions, student and teacher resources, tutorials, and informative articles on how to troubleshoot technical issues. Right now, we are in the process of revamping the help center to make it even better, so keep an eye out for that. And please lean on our support team if you have technical issues. They are incredibly knowledgeable and will be able to resolve any problems that arise. Finally, make sure you have signed up for our monthly newsletter to stay informed about our new simulations, resources, and site enhancements.
Absolutely. And I just want to echo that, Kim, that the newsletter, which you can link to, you can sign up for this link that's displayed here, and also just in the footer of the Labster website at labster.com. That's a great place to learn about new content. We have a lot coming out a little bit later in 2021, from new packages of high school level simulations to a completely new way of accessing Labster on the website, which is going to be much simpler and cleaner, an easier way of getting access to that faculty resources page, which is such an important resource, that instructor page where you can review all of our simulations to decide what fits. So again, I would just absolutely encourage folks to sign up for that. All right, so thank you. Thanks so much for sticking with us so far. Hopefully this provided a nice initial overview. As Maya said, there are other opportunities if you need specific help getting started with a particular learning management system or Labster Direct or whatever else may be. But right now, we would love to hear from you. Any general questions you may have, go to slido.com, hashtag Labster, and we'll do our best to answer any questions that you do have while we're here. So we should be able to view these questions. And I may just need to click through here. Colleague Hillary. And if we're not, here we go. Okay, so looks like our first question coming in, what LMS do you integrate with? Maya, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, we integrate with quite a few, Canvas being one, Blackboard, Schoology, Brightspace D2L. Am I missing one? I'm missing quite a few. Sakai is another one. Was that the last one?
I don't remember the Blackboard, Moodle, absolutely. There's a long list, but I think in particular at the high school level, I think we see a lot of Canvas, Schoology, Google Classroom, and then you can always go directly to the Labster website. So I think that's it. Great. Okay, and then another question here. Are the simulations based on any particular curriculum? Are there curriculum correlations for the labs? The answer is yes, at least to the second one. I mentioned before we have a curriculum alignment guide. It's a PDF that we will email to you tomorrow as part of the follow-up to this webinar. It's a simple PDF, but it shows the names of all of our high school level simulations, and it aligns them to AP, International Baccalaureate, and NGSS, Next Generation Science Standards. And I would say NGSS is probably has been our guiding light when we've developed some of the high school level simulations, or in many cases adapted some of the more introductory level college simulations into something that fits a little bit better for students at the high school level. So that's the background there. So absolutely, we will send that through. Any other questions at all? And the question here is, what about your high school levels? That's a good question. Oops. Let me see if I can navigate this. The curriculum correlation, as I mentioned, is a bit more lined up with that next generation science standard. I will say that just for a bit of context here, many of our high school level simulations are probably ideal for 11th and 12th graders, but we are absolutely seeing 10th grade and 9th grade, and in some cases middle schoolers use our simulations. I think especially something like lab safety, it can be appropriate for even incoming high school students as well. So it does vary, and I think that what makes it difficult sometimes, and it's the same issue with university level learning tools, is that it really varies school to school. You know, the different type of school, where you're based, what your curriculum is, and so really the best solution is to take a look at that curriculum alignment guide, talk to your Labster representative, whether that's Kim or someone else. They can create course mappings for you to literally map each of our simulations to topics that you want to cover. And then most importantly, you can do this yourselves. In that faculty resources page, you have unlimited access, an unlimited trial to all of Labster simulations, essentially forever, at least for you as the instructor, as the teacher. So absolutely get access to that faculty resources page if you don't have it already. Your administrator at school or absolutely your Labster representative should be able to set you up with that, so you can just go through the simulations, look at the learning objectives, read the descriptions. You can play the simulation if you want to, if you really want to experience it, or you can even review the quiz questions and answers, review the theory material, or simply watch a screencast of someone else playing the simulation. So it's a bit of a faster way of seeing what the content is in the simulation without necessarily having to click through it yourself. Another question here, are you thinking of creating some forensics and Earth and space specific simulations? Yes, both of these topics are high on our list for high school level content. We have no exact commitments yet, but we're hoping that by early March or so, we should have an initial draft list of the simulations we plan to build in summer and fall of 2021. So that's really when we're looking to begin creating a lot more content to maybe plug some of the gaps that we don't have, quite as many physics simulations, for example, and not much that covers earth science right now. So we definitely will be looking at some of those areas probably in the second half of this year. Is the data collected on the teacher dashboard easily integrated to an online gradebook? Maya, do you want to maybe take that?
Yeah. In regards to an LMS integration, so Canvas, or if you're accessing Google Classroom, it is easily integrated. All you really essentially have to do is press on the dashboard link. So in the Google Classroom slide that I went over, it was just a link that you press on, signing into your Google account, and then you're taken to the dashboard directly. So it integrates pretty smoothly and easy. Same with Canvas, we can create a custom link, a Labster dashboard link, and all you have to do is press on that link and it'll open up in a new window and take you to the Labster dashboard.
Yeah, it's a seamless integration for the dashboard and the gradebooks and most of the learning management systems. And in addition to that, you have the ability in the Labster dashboard to export the results. So if you just want it in a good old-fashioned Excel file or CSV file, you see all the student names, all of their attempts, their grades, their progress. You see someone who hasn't finished the simulation versus those who have. All of that information is also just downloadable as well if you want the low-tech version of it. Another question here, is there a way we can create a folder for simulations we are interested in teaching? That is a very interesting question. So I would say right now there is not on the Labster website a way to click and bookmark a series of simulations to save for later necessarily, but that will be coming. I mentioned earlier a new way of providing access to the Labster website. Think of it as the Amazon.com version of one login and you have everything right there. That will be coming in summer 2021. We're calling it sort of the Labster portal. And so that we're hoping does have some bookmarking functionalities. But right now you can easily do this yourself just with individual links. You can use the browser bookmark function. And if you are working with either one of our sales managers or with Kim or one of her colleagues, we can build these, again, as I mentioned before, these course maps for you, where we essentially would curate a list, and the list of simulations would come just with a hyperlink for each one that you can go and click and check it out, which may make it a little bit easier than logging in and looking at the simulations yourself. But just so you know, typically our simulations are, you can search through the titles and the entire list if you want, but we do curate them into these packages. And so if you look under the lists, there's one for high school chemistry, high school physics, and high school biology. So we've curated simulations that we think are really appropriate for those three courses already. It's already done and ready for you to go. And we've even taken those simulations and divided them into the things that we think are core. This is a core topic in high school biology, in our opinion, and those that are related. Like these other simulations in the related category may be useful, they may be interesting, but perhaps they're not covered as one of those fundamental units in a typical biology course. So that curation is already done on the site, and you can check that out whenever you like. Any other final questions here? All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Hopefully this was helpful. As I mentioned, we'll follow up with a recording and a series of links to other resources. We encourage you to ask any questions as they do come up, and hope you have a great experience using Labster with your students. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye-bye.